Hey everyone, let's talk about something you've probably experienced, getting something from the government that seems totally free. But is it really? Today we're going to dig into a really big question. When something's free, who's actually footing the bill? Let's get into it. So picture this. You go to the doctor, maybe for a checkup, or maybe you sprained your ankle playing basketball. You see the doctor, you get what you need, and then you just walk out. No bill, no credit card, nothing. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's a pretty normal thing here in Canada.
And in that moment, it feels completely free, right? But here's the twist. It's not. Not really. That visit had a price tag, and someone, somewhere, had to pay for it. So who was it? That's the mystery we're going to solve today.
All right, let's dive right in and crack this case of the free doctor's visit.
The answer to our puzzle lies in a really important idea called a social program. So, what is that? Well, a social program is basically any service the government provides to help make life better and fairer for its citizens. You know, to look out for people's well-being. And that's it. That's the answer. Your doctor's visit? It was paid for by one of the biggest social programs we have in Canada, public health care. It's this huge system set up to look after everyone's health. But, and this is a big but, it is definitely not the only social program out there. So what else counts as a social program? You'll see pretty quickly that it's not just about healthcare. In fact, you're pretty much surrounded by them.
Seriously? They are everywhere. You're actually sitting in one right now. Your school? That's run as a social program. And there are tons of others, like pensions that help support seniors, employment insurance for folks who might lose their jobs, or income assistance for people who can't work. The whole point is to create a kind of safety net and support everyone in the country.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but it also sounds expensive. It's a fair question to ask. If the government is paying for all this stuff, where does the government actually get its money?
And the one-word answer is taxation. Yep, taxes. Governments pay for all these social programs with the money they collect in taxes from people and from businesses. Now, here in Canada, there are two main kinds of taxes that you'll hear about all the time. First, there's income tax, and second, there's sales tax, which you probably know better as the GST.
So, income tax is pretty straightforward. It's a percentage of the money someone earns from their job. But the GST? Oh, you've definitely paid that, even if you don't have a job yet. You know when you buy a new pair of headphones or some snacks, and there's that little extra amount on the bill? That's the GST. And that tiny bit of money you paid helps do big things, like pay a teacher's salary or keep the lights on in a hospital. So believe it or not, you're already a taxpayer, and you're already helping fund Canada's social programs.
All right, so we've covered the what, social programs, and the how, taxes. But now let's get to the really interesting part, the why. Why do we even have these programs in the first place? Well, the answer gets into some big ideas about policies, political parties, and what we value as a country. It really comes down to this. The kinds of social programs a country decides to have and how many of them are kind of like a mirror. They reflect what that country's people believe is truly important. The choices a government makes about this stuff says a lot about what that society values. But of course, not everyone agrees on what's most important. You know, in a democracy, people have different opinions. They debate about which programs we need most, how much we should spend, and yep, how high our taxes should be. And this is exactly where different political parties come into the picture.
If you look at the different political parties in Canada, you'll see they all have their own unique take on this. For example, one party might say, let's put more funding into healthcare and fighting poverty, which might mean higher taxes. Another party might say, let's lower taxes to help people in businesses, which could mean less money for some programs. It's not about one being right and one being wrong. It's just about different values and different priorities for the country.
And to really see how much these values can shape an entire country, it's super helpful to look at us compared to our closest neighbor, the United States.
Okay, so speaking in very general terms here, in Canada, we tend to believe that the government has a big role to play in making sure everyone's basic needs are met. The result? We generally have higher taxes to pay for more social programs. Now, in the US, there's often a stronger focus on individual freedom and personal choice. This usually leads to lower taxes, but also fewer government-funded programs. You can even see this difference in the famous ideas that helped found each country. For Canada, it's peace, order, and good government. For the US, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pretty different vibes, right?
Whew, okay, that was a lot to cover. So let's do a super quick recap of the most important stuff to take away. All right, here are the big 4 things to remember. First, social programs are just government services to help people out. Think healthcare and your school. Second, they're paid for by taxes, including that GST that you pay when you buy stuff. Third, the programs a country has really show what it values. And finally, number 4, different political parties have totally different ideas about how to handle all of this. Got it?
Awesome. Now for the final test. Let's just do a quick check to see what you remember.
Question 1. Besides healthcare, can you think of another example of a social program in Canada? I'll give you a second. If you thought of education, yep, your school, you nailed it. Perfect.
And last one. What are the 2 main types of taxes we talked about that pay for all these programs? Give it a shot. It's income tax and sales tax, also known as GST. You got it. Fantastic job. So from now on, whenever you hear someone say something from the government is free, you'll know the real story, and you'll know that you are already a part of paying for it.